Beyond the fame, beyond the highlights, beyond the moments the world thinks it knows. This is where sports, culture, and entertainment collide. The stories, the pressure, the legacy. Welcome to Beyond the Lights.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Beyond the Lights, the store we talk about sports, entertainment, and everything in between. We got the trio of good brothers here. I am Deuce Malone. Of course, we got Alvin and Jeff. What's going on, brothers?
Going on, man? How y'all doing?
Always lovely to be here, fellas.
Man, good to be here as well. We got a lot to talk about. I feel like we say that every week, but this week has been one for the books, though. So let's kick it off with sports. So Conor McGregor made his return to the UFC this weekend. Everybody was looking forward to this fight, myself included. But fellas, what were your thoughts? And did you see the fight? Because it didn't last very long. Alvin, I'm going to throw it to you first. Thoughts on this one?
My thoughts were it went as expected. Not so much that short, but as expected. The thing about combat sports, boxing, MMA, people have to understand is anytime you take any lengthy time off, it's not good. Ring rust is a real thing. Conor, this was his first fight in 5 years. And then prior to that, he had lost 4 of his last 7 fights. So that's important. And actually 5 of 8 if you include the exhibition with Floyd. So this win is expected. The thing about MMA is it's a newer sport, and so it's an evolving sport. So a lot of guys become stars in the sport are usually passed by younger guys who have fully been training in the sport all around. A lot of times what people don't realize is the beginning of MMA is a lot of guys who were like college wrestlers who weren't good enough for the Olympics, who kind of created mixed martial arts to give them another outlet to create a sport and also make some money. And so Conor was, again, one of the last big stars. I think him and Jon Jones are 2 of the last big stars. And I think he was banking on that cachet. But again, his opponent, Max Holloway, is a really good fighter, one of the best pound for pound in the sport. And it's not surprising, you know. And then some people, because of his decisions he's made, were thinking that Saturday night's fight was karma, which, again, you can look up his history. He made some decisions. He's done some things that he was definitely in the wrong for. And but speaking specifically to the fight game of it, it's not surprising. I think this is probably the last time we see Conor.
Jeff, what do you think about this one? And is Conor still the person he was before in the UFC as far as like bringing people in to watch fights?
He's still a name, right? Like he's still maybe still the biggest marquee name in UFC besides Jon Jones. The problem with that is, though, these guys are old. I mean, not necessarily old men, but like old in relatively to their sport. And the thing is, man, I heard this saying, I don't know about you guys, but I always heard fat calves get slaughtered, right? Like meaning in a sense, Conor's up like M's, like hundreds of millions of dollars. There's no like financial reason for him to be fighting anymore. With his whole Irish whiskey thing that took off, and obviously being the face of a sport for the better part of a decade, you know, when he was in his prime, and having a 5-year layoff, going in against guys who are training, working, competing every single day in a mixed martial art UFC fight, that like this is what happens. And the thing is, it didn't even take a punch or a kick or anything to get you hurt yourself, right? That was an old man injury, right? Like you go up to make a thing, you fall down, and you get, man, that's what happens when you get 37 years old trying to fight dudes in the UFC after, like Alvin said, taking a 5-year layoff. Man, this was the inevitable, unfortunately. And Father Time doesn't care about anybody. It's eventually going to tap you on the shoulder and say it's over. It's a wrap, right? Some people can make it last longer, LeBron, Tom Brady, but most folks are mere mortals, and we get touched on the shoulder, and that's over with, right? Fighting is over with for Conor, or at least it should be. But because there are no up-and-coming superstars, I'm not saying that there isn't one that will eventually come about, but like at one point they thought Kamaru Usman would be that for the UFC. He ended up flaming out. Some other guys that you thought may take the title, the mantle up from a Jon Jones, from a Conor McGregor, so you don't have to keep trotting these guys out there trying to make the biggest bang for your buck, especially after the Paramount takeover, that, you know, acquiring the rights to the UFC. Nonetheless, I mean, this is just what happens when you're 37 years old and you haven't fought in a very, very long time. You get these non-contact injuries, and it takes you out in the first 2 minutes of the fight.
Yeah, him and Anthony Davis got a lot in common. I think Conor broke his leg in his last fight he had, didn't he? Didn't he? Is that the one
Yeah, he
he
did.
stepped back
Yep,
and broke his leg?
Yep.
Mhm.
Mr. Glass. But you brought up a couple of names there. I wanted to say Ngannou was still out there. I think Ngannou makes things exciting. But here's a hot take for y'all. Would you rather have McGregor's fame, John Jones' accomplishments, or Khabib's undefeated legacy? Alvin, which one would you choose?
John Jones, easily John Jones. People have to remember, John Jones was going to be the Michael Jordan of MMA if he didn't get his own way. He was the first UFC mixed
He
martial
still might
arts
be it though, Alvin. He still might
athlete.
actually be it though.
Well, you got to remember he got that other stuff, because he was the first athlete with a Nike deal. That stuff. I wasn't gonna say it, but that stuff. He's got that stuff. 'Cause he was the first MMA athlete to get a Nike deal, and he was in one of like a Nike commercial with like big athletes they had at the time. And again, he got his own way. He's one of my friends who's also an MMA fan calls Can't Get Right. MMA's Can't Get Right. He's got always something when he's building. I think a name that you pointed out, Francis. I think Francis and John Jones is the biggest fight to make possible. But again, the UFC with their stubbornness is not going to make that fight because they decided that they're not in the business with Francis, which I don't understand. They're in the business with a lot of people who have done way worse things. I don't know of anything Francis has done that has been both illegal or violent to anyone outside of the octagon. Well, the guys we've mentioned all have, except for Khabib, have some definitely police blotter. He doesn't have any of that, but Dana has decided he doesn't want to do business with him, which to me is very dumb because the UFC heavyweight division is lacking. And I think John Jones versus Francis Ngannou, you could print money with that fight, but they're not going to do that. But I think of all those guys, I think John is the guy whose legacy I would want to have because, again, the only loss he had was a questionable loss. It was a referee stoppage badly, very badly. And that referee doesn't even ref anymore. But otherwise, he hasn't ever lost. So, again, he's beaten some of the best. He made Cyril Gane look very human. That fight was quicker than you could say, what's up? Like, literally, that fight was over like that. And then he beat Daniel Cormier twice, and then he beat Stipe Miocic, who was one of the GOATs at heavyweight. So, again, his legacy is pretty much locked up. That's the guy whose career I would want.
What about you, Jeff?
When it comes to the career and accomplishments, despite, his perpetuating to go where it's snowing, John Jones is the best UFC fighter in the history of the sport, right? Like there's no debate there. But when it comes to Conor, let me tell you one thing about Conor, he's going to get a crowd, he's going to get a bag. I think I read a stat. It said Conor McGregor made $470,000 per second in that fight, in that Max Holloway fight.
I mean, it only was a couple seconds anyway.
Exactly. But that's what I'm getting at. So it's like, between the Virginia Black, the 470 per second, that granted, he can't sniff the accolades in the athletic feat that is John Jones. I mean, John Jones had two brothers that made it to the NFL. And I think that's one thing that is unique to UFC is that John Jones was just the superior athlete to these guys. Like his brothers literally made it to the NFL. Two of them, not one, but two. And he was better than both of them at their sport. And Chandler Jones was a double-digit sack guy for my Raiders before he lost his rocker. But nonetheless, John Jones has the career. I might want Conor's bank account, though. I'm just saying.
I mean, I'm picking Jones, too. I mean, John Jones, amazing. The other two guys, great for them. Khabib, obviously, a good run, good knockouts, good legacy, but it's just John Jones. He brought flair, and he really took MMA to higher heights than where it was. Like, that was after the Chuck Liddell and all them era, and Rashad Evans and all them. It was like, this is past Rampage.
They were the foundation.
Rampage. Beat everybody.
Like those guys were the foundation.
Yeah. So, I mean, awesome work. We'll keep an eye on it and see if Conor does make a comeback. But speaking of comebacks, the United States men's national team, World Cup, they are out of it now. Alvin, I know you had some thoughts on this one. What's up next for the men's national team?
So what's up next is like being honest about who we are in international soccer. I think that's what has to happen. Soccer is reason I love soccer is it's the closest to my favorite sport, which is college football. There's always different things to play for.
What makes you say that? I'm curious about that. Because I heard more people compare it to basketball.
So the reason I say that is because, again, everyone is honest about their teams to a fault, and there are certain caps. So, again, you're not expecting to win. Like, let's say you're a Watford fan in the English Premier League. Your goal, you're not finna beat Man City. You're not beating Arsenal. But you hope to maybe get in that top four to where you can play in the Champions League. That's something to play for. Then you play for the FA Cup. There's always these different cups and different things to justify your season. You like I said, and that's one of the things, reason I say that. And so it's always interesting to see that as far as the international soccer landscape. I think we are basically, the U.S. men's team is basically Clemson pre-Dabo, where they were an 8-win team all the time. And that's what the U.S. men's national team is. Because if you look at the last 5 World Cups that we've played in, we've made it to round of 16, no further. Round of 16, and that's who we are. And I think that's one of the things we have to accept. Are we really going to break through to that top 4, or are we just a 16 team? And I think right now we're just a 16. That's what we are. I think ultimately we have to do greater investment in youth soccer again, and kind of break down a lot of the pay-for-play models and get our best athletes in there. Because again, if you take away the barriers to entry, we get a lot better youth players and we have a lot better youth system, which is why we're getting killed around the world, because a lot of these clubs, they identify like the Leo Messis, for example, when they're like 7 or 8 and they get them in the academies. And then they're not paying for those academies. And so I think that's one of the things that has happened. But then one of the things I mentioned off air was the fact that we have to have all of our guys playing international soccer at the top leagues. I'm talking about EPL, La Liga, Bundesliga, Serie 1, League 1. Serie A and League 1. We have to have those guys playing there, because if that's where you get tested. That's where you test the metals. If you look at Spain's team, every one of those players either plays for Real Madrid or Barcelona. And that's the top of the top. And so we have to have guys consistently playing there. We're getting there. I think it showed in our keeping, unfortunately, because this year on this cycle, all of our goalkeepers were MLS keepers, and we saw how that turned out for us against Belgium. So I think that's one of the things we have to happen. But we have to be honest about what we are. Being a top 16 team is no shame in that. But if we really want to take those steps, we got to take down some of those barriers for youth soccer. And then we got to have every last one of our players, not just on an international club, but playing.
I think they're.
Go ahead, Jeff. I see you want to jump in.
Yeah, because I understand what Alvin is saying is correct. I just don't. I think there's just a cap on how good America will ever be, simply because of what's incentivized. Like, being a dope high-level soccer player just isn't incentivized in American culture, right? Like, it's not like, now granted, if you're a Messi or Ronaldo, Mbappe, like, people recognize those guys in America, but not the way they're recognized internationally. And think about it. If you a jock, right? Like, you're a high-level athlete, and I'm equally as good, which meaning I'm awesome at football, basketball, and soccer. I'm not choosing soccer. I'm sorry. Like, I'd rather be LeBron James than whoever foreign guy that's playing soccer killing it, right? I'd rather be LeBron James than Christian Pulisic, right? Like, I'd rather be LeBron than Christian Pulisic or Tim Howard or any of these dudes that have been all-stars in the soccer that are from America. It's same with, I'd rather be Aaron Judge. I'd rather be Tom Brady or Pat Mahomes or Lamar Jackson. Like, cultural cachet, I think, plays a factor into this thing, because the best athletes in America are black men for the most part. And then and those guys aren't going to get any cultural cachet by being the next Freddie Adu or someone like that. Like that, to them, it's not as cool or as dope or even as lucrative as it is to be an American football player, to be a basketball player over here in the States. Now, if the pay scales start to change, maybe that ultimately changes. And if America really does invest, like Alvin says, in the youth soccer development, maybe that changes. But as long as NBA players are getting $70 million a year and football players are getting $60 million a year and getting all the Nike billboards and getting the best looking women and driving the nicest, coolest cars and hanging out with the rappers and getting all the clothes, that's what the youth is going to want to aspire to be, the guy that is LeBron versus a Christian Pulisic.
I mean, you bring up a valid point. I mean, it's no secret that soccer is not a huge sport here in the States, but with everything that's came out lately with football, right? American football, do you think that there might be a shift into football, soccer now, because of the risks that are coming with like playing American football? Do you think that's going to create a shift?
For some people. I think for some people it might, but at the end of the day, the NFL is made of 75% black, right? And that cultural cachet still means something to a lot of black people, right? Like, I mean, it's not a bad thing, though. I'm not saying like it's a bad thing, but like we care about the way we look, the way we're presented, the way we're talked about amongst our peers, amongst our friends, what people are saying about us when we're not in the room. Those different type of things matter. And right now, being a football player, a high-level football player, one, gets you paid. right? Soccer players ain't getting paid in college the way these college football players are getting paid. I'm about to run a story on a guy that's going to make $1 million his freshman year as a running back. Right? Running backs in the NFL don't even get paid no more. This dude gonna make $1 million at 18 years old playing running back, right? Like, so that gets you paid. One, still way higher than a soccer player. And two, once again, that cultural cachet, being the 5-star running back or quarterback or wide receiver versus being this all-world soccer talent, you'll get praised more in Europe, in France, in Spain than you would here in America. And I think that, to me, is just the ultimate divider, especially as NIL has shifted the landscape, high school players and college players getting 6- and 7-figure deals.
Yeah. I mean, you bring up money. I think NBA players are some of the highest paid athletes in America. And speaking of that, 2 NBA players got into a little bit of a scuffle, we assume, over the weekend. So Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, teammates at one point in time, allegedly got into a fight in Vegas at Summer League. Jeff, I know you had some insights into this one. Please break it down. What's this about?
So this is all about Tyler Hero feeling like he wasn't appreciated by the Miami Heat and, having something to say on his spam page, as Sylvester told us, his spam page in regards to Bam Adebayo. So kind of lay the foundation. Obviously, Bam and Tyler Hero were teammates for 7, 8 years, maybe. Both guys came out of Kentucky at different times, but they both had the John Calipari connection, the Kentucky connection, and then played for the Heat. And then during their time with the Heat, they've been to the NBA Finals. I know Bam's been twice. I think Tyler was there for both of those times as well. So, like, these guys have been teammates and gone through some big battles. But when, the Heat made a trade for Giannis, they shipped out Tyler, sent him actually to his hometown of Milwaukee. And in return, you get Giannis Antetokounmpo. You sent out a lot of different stuff. But Tyler, on his spam page, he got some messages. He got in a back and forth with a fan. And he essentially pointed out that, hey, you guys blame. Tyler felt his last couple of years in Miami that when Miami was doing bad, people put the blame on him, right? Because he's supposed to be the scorer. Like Bam is, people always say, well, Bam's game is limited and he's really good at what he does. You're supposed to be the one to get us the buckets, and you're always injured. There's these rumors that said he wouldn't play unless he was 100%. A little bit of a diva. These kind of getting too adjusted to the Miami lifestyle. So Tyler's human. So he felt some kind of way about that. He's like, okay, you guys are blaming me for all this stuff, but what about the guy making $60 million a year? Never used Bam's name, but in these messages, he would always reference the guy that's quote unquote making $60 million a year. He's talking about Bam, right? Like everybody knows he's talking about Bam. And he's like, this guy is not holding up his end doing this. Are you going to pay a guy $60 million a year? I think this is what the messages said. Are you going to pay a guy $60 million a year? They can only play defense. like he's taking clear shots at Bam, right? Like, okay, felt some kind of way. According to the reports, Tyler, it's Summer League. So in Vegas during Summer League, a bunch of stuff's going on. They have AAU tournaments. Obviously, the NBA players are playing, the rookies and stuff. And Tyler is running his team's AAU tournament game. And he's on the sideline or whatever. Bam walks in, I guess, getting ready for his own personal workout. And Tyler started yelling at Bam. I don't know what he was saying, allegedly saying something to Bam, I guess referencing maybe his messages from his spam page. And Bam, according to reports, just walked over casually and gave him what the 5-finger said to the face. just gave whatever the 5-finger said to the face. You know what I mean? No words, apparently. Like, I had nothing to say. I don't do all the talking. I don't do the internet. I just come and handle business. And they, got the scuffle, quickly broke it up. But yeah, that's what's taking place. And I think this kind of just goes into a deeper conversation we were having offline about internet culture. Right? Like allowing, because Tyler Hero's young. How old is Tyler Hero? He's relatively
in
young.
His 20s.
And
25.6.
Just letting the internet kind of gas you up into doing something maybe you'll regret. I mean, this dude was he's 26 years old. He was teammates with Bam Adebayo for 7 years. And to allow whatever, the internet talk, the tweets, the Instagram, the comments or whatever, to gas you up to talk bad about a guy that's had your back for 7 years, that you went to the finals with, that y'all went to wars together. And he's had, at least on paper and on reports, the whole entire time. And to allow a trade because the Heat fans felt some kind of way, you were getting messages or whatever, to allow you to ruin what it seemed like a really loving friendship, I think is just something that people have to be careful of. Because I don't think you can come back from, clearly Bam don't seem like he want to come back from it. And that's not to say they can't reconcile and get back on the same page. But I don't think it had to come to this all because of internet chatter and not actually what that like, if you're going to be mad at me about something I did. Don't be mad at me about something somebody else did. That don't make sense to me. And so I think the internet just allowed gas Tyler up into doing something I think he maybe eventually will regret.
Yeah, I mean, Alvin, this isn't the first time we've seen two teammates, one of them take off on the other one. We saw Draymond drop somebody. He'll remain nameless, just not to embarrass him any further. But then they say Tyler Hero is not pressing charges. So what do you think about this one? How does this play out in the long term?
So first off, this is what comes. Cultural awareness comes into play. Bam Adebayo grew up in North Carolina. He lived in a trailer. One thing I know is you don't want to mess with dudes that grew up in a trailer, regardless of race or ethnicity. So that's just cultural competency. You need to be smart enough to know that they don't play them games, okay? So that was the first thing I think Tyler made the mistake with. But also to what Jeff said, these guys, especially now with the athletes, are way too online. I think as a society, way too online, but them guys are way too online. And that's where the problems come in at. Because again, like he said, his issue was one with the Heat. It's one where you should have some words for Pat Riley. This ain't had nothing to do with Bam. This is your issue. And you as a man, you have to take that. But then also, I'm gonna be real. This comes back to this is gonna be the unk in me, the old school in me. But man, sometimes one thing I was always told was that if you're gonna say something about another man, you better be ready to back it up with your face and your fist. And a lot of cats don't realize the internet is not a toy. These people take these things seriously. You say something about me, like I said, Bam didn't say nothing from all reports. He was like, okay, cool. And like he said, 5 fingers met that face. That's what you got to learn. And this is a very cautionary tale for all the people, young people, especially. Yo, people don't be playing on the internet. People don't play like that. You got to understand that. And he's going to learn that. Tyler's going to learn that now. And especially in the NBA, again, all those guys are very sensitive. Those guys have some very interesting dynamics. You'll have teammates. Of course, Tyler's his wife knew one of his former teammates, now current teammates. So again, these guys always have very different dynamics, very different ecosystems. Because again, we identify the best basketball players early on. Like I said, all those kids that are in Vegas, at AAU, gonna know each other, and then they're gonna be going to college together, then they're gonna be in the NBA together. And so you have to know, man, hey man, I need to respect the relationship dynamics that I'm growing here. Like I said, these are gonna be my colleagues, these are gonna be my teammates. So as a man, I just have to know how to talk to them and just have the conversation and say, hey man, I felt the way about this. This ain't on you. But again, you also got to know who you can play with. And Bam showed he ain't the one to play with. I mean, the man's name is Bam. I mean, that should be the case closed.
He lived up to his name.
Yeah, exactly.
It was right there. Somebody else who did some big things that ended up with a bam and a bang is Jay-Z. Let's get into some music talk. So over the weekend, Jay-Z had his 3 concerts at Yankee Stadium, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The 30 years of Blueprint, 25 years of Blueprint and 30 years of Reasonable Doubt, then the Extra Innings concert. Fellas, I'm sure like y'all saw everything on your feed about every single night. Early thoughts from the shows. What do y'all think? How'd this go?
I mean, for me, it was a success, and I'm just gonna say it. I'm hating on all my line brothers and friends and their wives who went to the show. Y'all couldn't holler at the boy. Y'all couldn't help me out for real. Okay, cool. Nah, I'm jealous. Like I said, the show was immaculate. All 3 shows. He had great lineups. He brought out the Clips. Brought out Eminem, Nas, Pharrell, Beyonce. So he had all the legends and Rihanna. Rihanna took the time for making makeup to like, I'm actually performing for y'all. So like that's a big deal. He put together a show that was worth the cost of admission. Everybody enjoyed itself. Single enjoyed itself except for the final night. That's the only negative that happened, where there were some security issues that wasn't due to anything Jay-Z did, but there were some security issues at Yankee Stadium. But overall, it sounded like there was a really good time. And from what I saw, I enjoyed it. And I wish I was there. Like I said, that was the first time I've had FOMO in a long time.
This was one of the most historic concerts concert series that I've ever seen. And I'm just gonna say this again for the haters that are still talking about Drake selling out stadiums and whatnot. I don't think Drake could have pulled off something like this. Number one, they have the cachet to get all those high-level artists to say, yeah, I'm coming to New York and I'm coming on stage to do these songs, etc. Eminem doesn't really come out a lot. So for him to come out and do what he did, that to me was worth the price of admission. I actually had tickets to night 3. Obviously, I did not go because I was here in Texas. But from all the issues with it, I'm kind of glad I didn't make it out there. I mean, I think concert ended at like 3 a.m. It started late. Like Alvin mentioned, there were some security issues, but this was just an amazing weekend for hip hop, for New York. I mean, New York summer is on fire. The Knicks won. y'all. Now you got Jay-Z at Yankee Stadium. I mean, this is one that's going to go down for the books. I hope they put out a DVD of all these so we can see it in the cinematic view, not from just people's TikToks or whatnot. But Jeff, I'm going to come to you. What are your thoughts on the whole Jay-Z concert series?
This is when you have a album like Reasonable Doubt and a career like Jay-Z's, this is how you're supposed to do it, right? Like when you're representing 30 years of Reasonable Doubt, 25 years of The Blueprint, having 3 shows back to back to back, but so diverse, so many different guests. Night 1 and night 3, I think could arguably go down as one of the greatest concert lineups between the two of those, maybe ever, right? Between anybody, as far as like the people, the performances, the songs, the history. I just thought all of it was just absolutely insane. And then the production value, from what I saw, once again, from the TikToks and the tweets and stuff, it just looked amazing. I think Jay-Z looked great as far as like he looked healthy. He had the low cut, he had the Yankee hat, he had the paper planes are everywhere. Like, I mean, it looked like Rock Nation, right? It looked like Rockefeller, Rock Nation. It was really good. Really good to see. Wasn't crazy about the first freestyle, just personally, but that's me. I gotta throw a little salt in there. We can't just have it all sweet. Everything was all great. Nah, I'm like Kaepernick stuff was a little whatever, but nonetheless,
I agree.
All overall, the show itself, the presence, the guest, really, I mean, I was just super impressed. But I don't know why. I probably shouldn't be, but the guest list of having Nas, Eminem, Beyonce, Rihanna, all of these people, the Clips, Pharrell. I just thought that was just super impressive. I think they went out there and did their thing. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but when Pharrell was getting off stage, he was like, I hope you killed him. Well, the show's over, Pharrell. What are you alluding to, sir? And I think it's ultimately what we're talking about. I think this is a rollout, not just a celebration, but a rollout to new music coming out very, very soon. And I think Pharrell was about to spill the beans until Ho finally cut him off. Shout out to Skateboard P, get him out of here. Like, you know what I mean? Because he's talking a little too much,
Yeah. At this point, we have to get an album. I mean, I really feel like we have to get an album at this point. This felt like Fade to Black. I don't know if you remember when he did the Black album and said he was retiring and did a concert called Fade to Black. I think that was at Madison Square Garden. And same scenario. Anybody who was everybody was there coming out doing guest features. It just shows you like how much people respect Jay-Z and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna show up to this for Jay. Just do this. Now, he's got another show coming up in Paris. The only thing that missed this concert, in my opinion, were 2 things, which I think one of them will never happen. That's Dame coming on stage, but him and Dame Dash, I think, are completely done. And Dame is just kind of, I don't know, he's got issues. But Mr. West, Ye. Is there a chance that we see Ye and Jay-Z pop back up in Paris, of all places, and maybe reconcile? Since this historic run, everything has been kind of like, oh, I never would have thought this would happen. Nas walks on stage. I mean, we get Eminem and Jay-Z. We get a lot of stuff that we didn't think would happen, I would say. What do y'all think happens in Paris?
I think you're going to be holding your breath. Because, like, we have to remember that the Kanye thing wasn't just his decisions he's made as far as how he aligns himself politically. It was personally. He mentioned some things about
you talking about the men kids, man. Let's just say you're talking about the men kids, and you can't come back from that. I'm sorry. You can't come back from that. Like, I would have said yes, potentially, maybe, whatever. You can't come back from talking about somebody's wife or their kids, man. And especially your kids, especially if you're talking about any type of, disability or whatever. Like, come on, man, we don't play those kind of games, man. Like, that's not something you play with. And I love Kanye. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if y'all know, but I really love Ye. But when you talk, it's one thing to make fun of Jay-Z. It may have even been one thing to make fun of these public-facing figures like Jay-Z or Beyonce. I think that would have been whack. It's a man's wife, but still, she is a public figure. This man, kids ain't no public figure. And then to go out there and talk about whatever they may or may not have, I just don't think there's no coming back from that.
Speaking of kids. Yeah, speaking of kids, Blue Ivy been doing an awesome job since Renaissance when she started performing with her mom on stage. But then playing the piano solo, the Feeling It, which is one of my favorite records off of Reasonable Doubt. When do y'all think she's actually going to put out music? I'm just curious now. Like, they put something out when she was a baby, of course, being smart, you're a parent, you put her as like featured. It was just her cooing, basically. But when y'all think Blue going to finally drop something?
I think Blue too busy with management. She manages. She run that ship, man. She, the internet told y'all she run a tight ship, man. She ain't got time for that. She Barry Gordy. She her mind elsewhere. She on the business side of it, y'all. She run the tight ship. I don't know if she'll ever give us an album. I think she just gotta keep Jay and mom intact and keep them working. So I think she just more worried about the business side of it.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'd want her because like that is just such a level because it's not like you have one superstar parent in music. You have two. You have two of the
and your
biggest
auntie.
ever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and like they're two, and not, it's not even counting Solange or anything else related or associated with them, but like you have the two biggest, stars ever in that field. I love her being able to be a part of what they're building and currently doing, but actually trying to be a solo artist, I don't know if that's the smartest, best play, because she will just never. I mean, unless she just is a superstar and we just are yet to find out, but it's just going to be very, very hard for her to ever be able to live up to the name in the game of music, not nothing else. She can do whatever she wants, but in the game of music specifically, being the daughter of Jay-Z and Beyonce, and then going out there putting together her own Hall of Fame music career. And instead, I'm like, well, Alvin, man, run the business. It's a lot more lucrative doing that anyway, right? They already set you, you already up 2, 3, 4 billion, right? Just do that. Just do that. You ain't this music stuff. Hey, this was for us. You do something else. You elevate this thing and make sure the name, Carter, Knowles, Beyonce, Jay-Z lives on way, way, way past they're gone.
Yeah, it reminds me of Willow Smith to a degree. I feel like Jada and Will kind of like were pushing Willow, and she kind of was like, "Nah, I don't want to do this." Even though With My Hair, I thought it was a cool song for her at the time. But it's just cool to see Blue. Like, I feel like it's effortless what she's doing. Like, okay, we know she obviously can play the piano. She obviously can back up dance too, and she has very much poise, and she's got some fashion sense. So it's just cool to see her getting to be a kid and insert herself where it appears that she wants to. Like, she's not being pushed to do these things, which is really cool to see. Something else on the entertainment front that popped out was the Emmy nominations. So a lot of stuff going on. The Pit led nominations. I think Widow's Bay came in second. Gentlemen, Alvin, I'll toss it to you because we're talking about this off mic. The Pit and Widow's Bay. What do you think about those nominations? All the things they got.
I think The Pit is probably one of the best like medical dramas that's going for a long time. It can assume the mantle of like Grey's and ER, and so it's a really good show. I found it interesting though that a lot of those Emmy nominations, there was a couple of those Emmy nominations that actually the actors themselves had to submit themselves for. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So I'll keep an eye on that because I feel like that doesn't usually sound like something. Usually when there's a prestige show like that, they submit everybody for everything to get them ahead of it. So that'll be interesting to find out. Widow's Bay, I've just now checked into that one. I think it's a good show. I think it might be a little overhyped, but again, TV tastes are different. One thing I did want to say is, as far as the nominations, shout out to brother Yahya Abdul-Mateen for Wonder Man. He got a nom for lead actor in a comedy series, and Sterling K. Brown for Paradise. I thought both of those shows were well done, expert shows and excellent shows, and I hope those brothers come home with Emmys.
I got $5 that says Sterling K. Brown will cry when he shows up to the Emmy Awards. He can't go nowhere without shedding a tear. But look here, The Pit, HBO doesn't miss, first of all. So The Pit is on HBO. If you haven't watched it, it's 2 seasons. Like Alvin said, it's one of the best, I think, medical dramas I've ever seen. It's very graphic. And my LB actually is a medical doctor. He said that it's a very realistic show. It's somebody's what their worst day would be. But he said, like, yeah, compared to other medical shows, it's on point with how they function. But the characters and the dynamics is what I really love about that show. Widow's Bay, I'll say this. I think it's overrated. I did watch the full first season. It's kind of like, is it comedy? Is it horror? It's a mix in between. It was cool. I think it's already set up for a season 2, but to like get the second highest Emmy nominations, I was like scratching my head. Jeff, what are your thoughts on this?
When it comes to the Emmy nominations, my favorite show on TV right now is Abbott Elementary, right? And so Abbott Elementary got nominated for best, comedy series. That is one of, and The Bear. I feel like I've been the Bear fan since it first started. It fell off a little bit to me. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I think The Bear, I wasn't feeling the last 2 seasons. At season 5, I feel like it bounced back a lot. So between Abbott Elementary, like Alvin mentioned earlier, Paradise is one of my favorite shows out right now. But Abbott Elementary is my favorite show by far. Created by Quinta Brunson. It's to me, it's a modern version of a Black sitcom that we just don't get a lot of times anymore, right? Like a lot of these type of shows aren't made or aren't given the budget that they used to be, like in light of like the Cosby Show or Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or the Wayans Brothers. You don't really see a lot of those. Abbott is different than those, but it reminds me, gives me that feeling of those type of shows with the different characters, the different age groups, and of course with the stars being Black Americans. So shout out to Abbott Elementary, shout out to Paradise. when it comes to The Pit, I've heard great things. I really need to tap in because that is one of the shows. One of the things I do, it's weird. I watch a lot of times documentaries on shows before I even see them. And so The Pit has been one of those, like just a little quick YouTube thing. And I always was told about how great they depict what's taking place in a hospital day in and day out. And so I think it's been awesome.
So pull back real quick. I know we got to get to the next topic, which is one I'm really talking about, but convince me on why The Bear is a good show. I have tried to watch The Bear. I've only seen one good episode where the kids got high by accident. That was funny. But this show, number one, I really don't feel like it's a comedy. I don't get the allure. Give me 2 reasons why you like the show.
So the one is the essence of taking over this rundown, restaurant from your brother who committed suicide on the show and really turning it into a fine dining establishment. You had all of these culinary art skills being Carmy, the main character, and now you're applying it to your local shop that your brother was running and really running it into the ground. And so that to me is what got me. The funny dialogue between the characters, right? All the different characters, the way they talk to each other, good and bad, and a lot of it's bad, is another dynamic, but especially with Carmy and his head of house, which is his cousin. Their dynamic to me is something that I just find really, really special. And then Carmy and his top chef, which is I forgot her name in the show, but their dynamic is really, really great as well. And I know I just thoroughly enjoy it. And shout out to Robert Townsend because he also is in a couple episodes, just pops in. I was like, oh, it's Rob. Oh, who's that? Like when I first saw it, it was turned. So that also is why it wins in favor of me. Like I said, I ain't gonna act like 2 seasons were great. All of it's just roses and berries. It was struggling a little bit. It was struggling, but I feel like season 5 has started to bounce back with it being its season finale.
All right, I might give it a chance. But something else that is struggling right now are the reviews on this new Future album, The Real Me. Gentlemen, I think we've all heard it. Alvin, I'm going to toss it to you first. Don't disappoint me. What did you think about the Future album?
So what I thought about the Future album is there's been a lot of online talk about it. And my question is, what did you expect from a Future album? Like, you have to ask yourself that question first and foremost.
More, Alvin. We expected more. We expected more. That's what we expected.
What we got.
Well, why though? Like, this is my question.
Beats and him not getting away with the beats.
Like, but why though? Like, what is it? Platinum Tank Top. I think that one grab. Like, again, he made most of them songs are like 2.5 minutes at most, and so they just go and go. And it's like, again, it's Instagram, real soundtrack music, and I don't know where the issue comes in at because, again, I told you I don't have the highest as far as critical acclaimed expectations for Future. I want Future to give me some bangers to go about my day. So I can understand if you went in expecting like this fully fleshed out project, I can understand you being disappointed, and I can totally understand. But that wasn't my expectation. Future makes McDonald's burgers. He makes the Big Mac, and I'm going for a Big Mac. I'm not looking for fine dining. So if you were looking for fine dining, that's kind of on you. That's honestly the way I look at it. I think, again, Future knows he rides a wave and he just does what he does, and he kind of operates in his own place. And that's the thing that you have to expect from a Future album. Now, if I were looking at it from a critical lens, of course, it was missing a lot. Like I said, those songs were very short, very, very short, like in a snippet type of way. And I'm like, hold up, this don't sound like this should have been on an album yet. This felt like this needed to cook a little bit more. But again, I don't have the expectation of him. Like, again, we spoke about Jay-Z. I have expectations of Jay-Z. I have expectations of Drake. I have expectations of Kendrick, Wale. I don't have those expectations for Future. I just expect him to give me some bangers to get me through the summer. And I mean, mission accomplished.
A lot of people question why I like Future. They know I like a lot of lyrical rappers, but look, Future's my guilty pleasure. But also, Future is hip hop. Let's not forget that he came up in Atlanta around Dungeon Family and folks like that. So he gets rap, but he also knows what works for him. And so when I turn a Future album on, I want my speakers to shake. I want good beats. And I want him to give me some hooks that's memorable and not getting away with the beats. And that's what I got. Like Tank Top Pluto, Konnichiwa, Build a Chick. You don't say chick. A couple other records on there. I'm like, all right, I can get with this. But Jeff, I see you over there got a different thought. What did you think about this Future album?
So Future, like we said, he stars in his role. I think he got too experimental on this. One, there's too many songs on a freaking album. I don't want to hear 23. What is it? 23 songs?
It's 24 songs.
Yeah, there's 22 songs.
Short songs.
That's too many. That's too damn many. Let's start there. It's too many songs. Second of all, I expected more simply because Future's on a run. Like Future's always on a run. Let's just be honest. But it seemed like this last run though, Mixtape Pluto, crazy, and then the two tapes with Metro were both crazy, and then his album before that was the one that had Wait For You. You had that one. Which one was it? I Never Liked You. So like he was on like a little run. It's like, yo, you put up Hall of Fame stuff. I mean, he's always had Hall of Fame stats the last decade, but nonetheless, I expected more, especially coming off the Iceman album. You just saw he got back with Drake. You saw Bees on the Table. You heard the song where it Ran to Atlanta, him and Drake. I expected a Drake feature. I did. I thought Drake was gonna make the album, and I expected more of the album to sound more like that. Maybe 12 to 15 songs, more sounding like Ran to Atlanta, as opposed to some of these experimental voices and sounds. And I get it. Future's never been a box guy, right? He's the same dude that made the Future album and the Hendrix album a week apart, right? Like he has never been someone to just conform to a box. At the same time, it was probably a little too experimental for me. That's just my thing. But nonetheless, gave me a few tracks that I could bump to. But when we're talking about 3, 4, maybe 5 songs that I like and a 22 song album, that just ain't gonna cut it.
So you ain't like 2018 then, huh?
28.
One where y'all high pitch.
Yeah, no. You can keep that. You can keep that. I'm good on that. I am super good on that. But I do like I said, it's not that I don't like when Future's being experimental, because The Wizard, that mixtape way back when I was in college, that's one of my favorites. And I feel like that was a little more experimental. But at the same time, it's concise. We're talking about 10, 12, 15 songs, not 22. And I also really like Future on hooks and choruses. And when you have a 2-minute song, it's hard to really get those hooks and choruses like I'm used to from him.
Yeah, I was surprised we didn't see Drake on the album. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was really looking for a Drake feature, maybe a 21, some more folks from Atlanta, but nah. I mean, I was like, all right, this is what we're doing. Okay, cool. Metro wasn't even on the album, I don't think.
No,
think about it.
No,
yeah. So that was kind of different. That it was kind of like out of the norm. But I'm just not gonna just say it's terrible like the internet's doing. It wasn't the best Future album. It wasn't Dirty Sprite. It wasn't Dirty Sprite 2. It wasn't any of those that it wasn't Monster. We can go on and on. But it was cool for him. But I'll tell you what. Let's get to some people who did win the week, and I win the week segment. All right, so I'll tell you what. Alvin, kick us off. Who won the week for you?
For me, I won the week. I'm gonna tell you why I won the week, because two of my favorites, hip hops as a Memphian, 3 6 Mafia was a part of my growing up. Juicy J and Project Pat released the album We Them Goats. It took me back to 2002. That's what so I won the week. I don't care if this ain't for you. A Jay-Z concert plus a Project Pat album made me feel like I was back in 02 in my 93 Mustang. That was this. So I won the week. I got good music, good vibes. And then also shout out to Anderson .Paak. He's killing it with the features. He's becoming the guy to go to for the features, because he has a feature on that album, as well as on T.I.'s Kill the King album that's really good. And he's been on the roll as far as features. So again, I won the week, but those brothers won the week for sure.
Yeah, Project Pat, man. I love Project Pat, man. Mr. Don't Play is still one of my favorite albums that gets rotation regularly for me. Jeff, who you got winning the week?
I think it's easy. I'm taking the easy way out. Jay-Z won the week. I think when you're 60 years old and you're able to still have the cultural cachet that he has, to be able to bring out all the people that not just performed at his concert, but just wanted to attend and be fans and be in the building and feel the energy. And just me being able to feel the energy from people's phones that came all the way from where I'm from in Kentucky to go there, and different parts all around the country, all around the world, to be there at Yankee Stadium during one of those 3 nights. I feel like Jay-Z in this rollout that I feel that we're witnessing right now in real time. He won the week, man, to be able to sell out 3 straight shows, 3 nights, Yankee Stadium, and then take the tour across around the world at different little spots. I definitely think Jay-Z won the week.
Man, so who won the week for me is this guy right here, Mr. Dave Chappelle. If y'all haven't seen it, so Usher and Chris Brown on tour right now. Yes. And so Usher is doing his thing, being extra sexy, and he's going to what he calls the rhythm section, and he's looking confused, like, is that Dave Chappelle? And just like a Dave Chappelle skit, Dave Chappelle slides right in with a drink in hand and some other party favors, looking like he's having the time of his life. It looks so random. It brought me back to the Chappelle show. I'm like, we need to bring it back. It just was one of those moments like Dave is still the man out there and living his best life in any way he can. So Chappelle won the week for me. And I've been laughing about that ever since. Well, fellas, it was another crazy week. Thank y'all for coming in as always. Tell everybody where you can find you. Alvin, I'll start with you.
Check me out on all socials at Alvin Sights, ALVINSIGHTS. You can keep up with shows, all that good stuff. And I post a comedy clip every week. So keep supporting the show. We appreciate y'all checking in with us.
Jeff
Lighty Jr. on all platforms. Find it there. We drop content daily. Appreciate it always.
And y'all can catch me at The World of Deuce. Leave in the comments what y'all thought about the Future album, on all these other topics we talked about. Let us know what you think. Let us know what debates y'all want us to have. And we'll see y'all next time on Beyond the Lights.